Hi, folks. I'm joined by legendary comedian Steve Hughes. Much to my personal joy, because I've been a huge fan of Steve's comedy for many a year now, which makes probably both of us feel quite old, actually, now I've said that. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm getting old. I'm getting old.
How are you doing? You're right.
I'm good. We started the tour 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Which I came here to start about 2 years ago.
Oh.
And,
Well,
Cardiff was first. It was good. Mm-hmm. Bristol was better, but in a different way.
Oh, yeah. How's that?
They were more full on.
Right.
But Cardiff were more passive, but you didn't lose them energetically. There's a big difference. Some people think, oh, they're not into it as much. No, they got into it. I can tell when they're not into it. Yeah. Believe me.
Okay, so I guess where to start? Like, let's talk about the state of the world, because things aren't going great, are they? It's weird, isn't it?
Well, depending on which perspective you look at it.
From my perspective, I guess I'm going to say that, if I'm allowed to have my own perspective on it. Well, what do you think about from your perspective? How's, particularly, I suppose, the comedy world? Because, of course, cancel culture, got people like Andrew Lawrence and, God knows others being cancelled for telling jokes that 5 years ago no one would have batted an eyelid at. What do you make of it?
Well, it's the obvious repercussion of when they started to bring in political correctness, which is quite old, isn't it, in a sense? It's not new. I mean,
no, they were doing
especially
this
in America.
90s. Yeah.
The 80s even.
Really?
Well, there was a band from America called Anthrax, it's a thrash metal band in the 80s. And they made a sort of side project, and it was just called Speak English or Die. Right?
Right. Okay.
And all the songs were just anti-political correctness. It was like 85. Right?
Really?
Right. And so you could even tell then it was just because people, is that a racist record? No, it's a stupid joke.
Yeah.
And all the songs were just completely
horrific by today's standard. Probably.
Oh, by today's standards. But back then people sort of knew it was a joke.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lack of understanding of any kind of just nuance or. Oh, well, who was I talking to the other day? It was about this kind of stuff, and people just take everything in such a reactionary face value. And just the day before, I'd been listening to this, watching this reaction video. I like watching those with young people actually listening to good music and going, wish we grew up like that.
Yeah.
Right? And they were listening to Tom Jones sing Delilah, right? And I used to hear that song as a kid. Right? Yeah. Then I heard the lyrics, and so obviously Delilah cheats on him, and he gets heartbroken. Yeah. And then one of the lyrics at the end is, he went to see her and knocked on the door, and she stood there laughing. I pulled out my gun, and now she'll be laughing no more. Right? So I heard that as a kid, but I never thought, well, if you get your heart broken, you shoot women. It wasn't. I knew even then. Well, this is the theatre, isn't it? The way it's describing a heartbreak could lead you to radical behaviour. So the song was written like a song. It was like a play. Wasn't it?
It's
right?
describing like an emotional catharsis that you go through, and at the end of it, you carry on with your day, right?
Yeah, and also be wary what you pick. Watch out what could happen in the realm of love and the heart. Yeah. I didn't think, you just get a gun and. But some people now would go, well, that's very bad, isn't it? Did you want to shoot that woman? And it's like, no. Or perhaps yes, in the sense of the inner pain, but you don't do it.
But it's interesting how they take everything to be like a political pronouncement from a president or something, isn't it? Everything's like a categoric statement that's just, this is always true in all times, all places. Like, no, like you were saying, a lot of it is either, for the laugh, for just the emotional release of the thing or whatever. But now that's all being forbidden. And I'm genuinely concerned about this.
So am I completely, because, didn't the comedian sort of bring the unlooked at to life in a sense, but we did it with humour so that it had a softness to it.
So it didn't hurt.
We could look at the darkness and the ugliness of ourselves or a situation, and then and you turn it back on itself, and you see, and you just now they kind of no, it's all written down here, then it's...
But it was a way of, like, you know, helping yourself to change and grow, wasn't it? Because one of the things that I always liked about comedians is the fact that they'd make light about one of those things about you that you'd go away and reflect on. But like, actually, I do that sometimes. You know, we are like that. And it's like, okay, do we need to be like that? You know, could I be better? Could I be worse? You know, and
Man.
But you can't do that now.
Well, I did last night.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Until you get cancelled, you know.
Well, no, I get the right crowd. Well, you know, if I'm touring my show, I'm pretty much okay if you... And plus, I just warn them, listen, you know, we're going to go into this bit now. If you don't want to hear it, you know, it's just...
What are you doing here?
And also you just can leave. I mean, what's wrong with leaving something you don't like?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, sometimes someone will get up to leave and people go, oh, and I think, no, that's an intelligent decision. I always say, someone took me to see Madonna once. Well, I left. Well, it wasn't very good, you know, I don't like this kind of, I'll meet you at the pub afterwards, right? You know, I didn't get online going, well, you know, she seems a little fake compared to Metallica.
Never a true word spoken. But like, so, like, in this sort of comedy realm then, what's the atmosphere like? Because looking at it from the outside, it looks tense.
It's more tense in bigger cities and London.
Right, yeah.
If you get outside...
The normal people live out there.
Well, I've always, even before this stuff, I mean, London is a biosphere, isn't it? Yeah. You know, you can become just entrenched in it. Like, it sort of exist, and you can almost forget the rest of England exists.
They certainly do.
Yeah.
They certainly do.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and the thing is, London's so different to the rest of the country these days that, like, I don't really consider it a part of the same civilization anymore.
No, it is. It's very different. It's like, because when I got here, I lived in years ago. I got here. I lived in London for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then it's good if you want to go there and start comedy. It's there it is.
It's the nexus.
Because also there's status in comedy. So you can be big on all the Manchester clubs, but London doesn't care.
Yeah.
But if you're getting in all the London clubs, everybody else cares. Well, it doesn't care, but you'll get work.
Yeah.
Why? Well, you're doing London.
It's how you get on TV and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and also just around the rest of the country, really. Well, you're doing London. So if the Comedy Store and everything is taking you, well, yeah, of course you can come do my gig in Manchester, right? You've done that bit. But it is different these days, because I was here 20 years ago, and I've watched jokes that used to work. I've tried it, and then you can feel them go, Actually, I told him the other night in an audience, I said, you've really got to stop. This is England. You've created the best comedy in Western Europe for decades. I just said, stop it. Stop. Yeah. No, like, I don't think this is England. You're creative people. Like, you've made all the bands and tons of comedy. Just stop it.
I don't think they know how. I don't think they know how to stop.
No, well, if you program a human being to have an emotional reaction to outside stimuli and mix it with you'll be segregated from the group. These are all deep psychic things, aren't they, that go back in our collective psyche, you know. For anything, you don't want to be ostracized from the group, even if it goes back to sort of in when you lived around just in small villages and you got ostracized and now you got to live in the woods by yourself.
That was a death sentence.
Yeah,
wasn't it? You know,
right. So,
ostracization is like the worst. It used to be a punishment. You know, that's where we got the name for it. So, but I mean, like,
what's that old saying? Is it that on a bed of nails, the tallest one gets hit with the hammer first?
Yeah. So what's it like? Like, you know, do you spend much time speaking to like fellow comedians about, I guess we'll call it just political correctness, or do you try to avoid the subject?
Well, since I've been back, because I was in Australia for a few years, going through a little dark night of the soul. That was fun.
And what happened there? I mean,
just had a breakdown.
Really?
It was good timing, though. Thank God it didn't happen now.
Well, yeah. You couldn't go out of the house, could you?
So we could talk about that. I learned a lot from that, you know, and even about what's happening now. So when I got back here, I haven't been really seeing that many comedians, and I got back and there's lots of new ones who I don't know, and gigs are run a little differently, so I haven't really been chatting. But, you know, sometimes I can tell by their material. They acclimatise, But now, I've always had quite outspoken comedy and stuff like this, where some just haven't, which I don't think they have to. I like comedy in all different forms. You don't want 500 Bill Hickses, do you? You just
No.
You need a guy who's just let's have some laughs,
But like, I don't find comedy funny anymore. Like, I can't watch comedy on the BBC or something. I
haven't watched telly since 1987. So
yeah, and that's good. But like, I just can't watch it. And these sort of like millennial comedians, I know that what they're saying is supposed to be a joke, but there's just no surprise there for me. I know, because all of comedy comes from surprise, doesn't it? You don't know what's about to be said. And so like, I know they're going to give me like, and then, blah, 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 woke joke. And it's just like...
And stock standard topics in a real sort of shallow way.
Yeah.
It just gets a little...
It's really tepid.
Yeah, it's tepid. That's exactly the word I think. It's tepid. Yeah. It's like a lukewarm steam room. You're just soggy. It's not,
I'm not even sweating it out.
I always hate that when you have a lukewarm. Like it's either going to be like, it's got to be stinking hot, isn't it? That's what you want. Because if it's just,
of course,
if it's just at a safe thing, now I'm just wet, but nothing's happening.
There's no emotional connection.
There's no catharsis.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, man. I'm just watching it, thinking, is this like a dying industry or what? Because it feels
if you look at the world, I think the way we could look at the way it's going, all of them are dying industries. They don't want these industries, do they? Fun, entertainment.
That's true.
I think they're making everything harder. You get what remember in the old days in England or something, anywhere really, there's a club or something, a pub, and got a couple of bouncers, right? And they'd just be a couple of geezers, wouldn't they? And have a black jacket on and all this, right? And standing there, But now everyone's got this kind of, they look like cops now.
They got the high vis jackets.
Yeah. and it's sort of, so that's, to me, that was always, when people come up with excuses of why this happens, like, but aren't you even sensitive to the psychological ramifications of what that looks like and the aesthetic of it? Like you're an absorbent creature. You're a spiritual creature, right? And the aesthetics, that's why you go on holidays to the countryside.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. No,
right?
You're absolutely
right. Because suddenly you're walking amongst the English fields and the light flickers through the trees, and you go, God, I feel better, right?
Right? That's the right word. Feel. Doesn't it feel wrong that this is happening to our civilization?
It's like when they stick those, and they do it in London, they do it in Australia now. Those sort of in Australia, it's a Kennard's hire thing, but they have. I saw one in Camden the other day. Those big yellow monstrosities with the digital signs telling you something that they just plant on a road, and it's just ugly and industrial and industrial looking, and now we're going to tell you this thing here. But look at that.
Who chose that?
This was a nice street.
Yeah.
And you just dump this thing in it, like this stationary robot.
Yeah.
It looks like a dumb robot. Can't really do anything. It's just there, and people don't see it, and they think I'm mad when they go, come on, Steve, what are you getting upset about that for?
Why does that matter?
Yeah.
Why does that matter? So, but all of these little things, they add up, don't they? It's like that individually doesn't matter if the rest of it's okay. But then when the next bit and the next bit and the next bit and the next bit, and I'm surrounded by these stupid, dumb, yellow robot things, and it's just like, look, this is not what I wanted.
I know. None of us. See, it's funny how we live in this system, don't we? We just think where we give away or power, I guess, and these people do things. Well, no one asked us.
No.
We'll just dump this in there. Now we're going to. And now there's no money. And you have to pay with this thing. Who said? Oh, we did. So
it's just the way the system works, I'm afraid.
Yeah, this is the system. Well, it's like yesterday we were in the hotel, we're booking into the hotel, and then my manager had booked a room under mine and my support act's name, but I thought like the night before she perhaps just put them both under my name.
Yeah.
Right, so then she's going, no, there's only one room. So I'm going, okay. And then she gives me nothing, like, where I thought, well, couldn't you just go into the system, right, and see who booked it, and see if they booked it under two names, right, do something. But that was just the customer service side of it. The other side of it was just like, if you just had see, everything's in it, well, it's not in the system.
Yeah. computer says no sort of
It's not in the
right?
system, so then we stop it. And I always think, if you just had a book, Joe McTurnan, Steve,
I could check.
Someone could go, oh, it's under, is there a Joe McTurnan? Yeah. Oh, it's under your name. So, right.
You know, I had an experience like this before the COVID thing where I'd gone down to London, I'd booked a hotel. And I booked it online, and I got there, and like this French girl who's doing the customer service, she was like, right, okay, you know, you've got your booking, it's Carl Benjamin, blah, blah, blah. And she's right, have you got any ID? And I just looked at, no. And then she just looked at me, and we looked at her, there's this weird, like, pregnant moment. And it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen now then? Because I'm not engaging with the system. You're supposed to provide your ID. Why the hell would I have ID? You know, this isn't a police state, or it wasn't before COVID. I don't have any proof of who I am. Why would I?
To go into a hotel.
Exactly. I'm going to a hotel. And then she's like, okay, never mind then. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because it's like, well, you know, you could see what was going on there. It's like, right, you could see the clogs going, right, he doesn't have any ID. I'm supposed to get ID. But why would someone fake being the person in a hotel? You know, why would they? What would be the point? I mean, he hasn't paid for this yet. He's going to have to pay when he leaves. So why does this matter? You know, and it's just like that. That to me, that it was just that one small moment that was like, this whole thing's nonsense.
Oh, total nonsense. Well, as I was saying, the other point of this was yesterday. So then I thought, okay, maybe we'd only got one room.
Yeah.
So I texted my manager and waited. I said, well, if it's only one, I said, could we just book another room? She goes, well, you have to book it online.
I'm at the hotel.
But you're here.
God.
Right. So you tell me I have to pull out a laptop and like book it while you're standing in front of me. and
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I'm literally in the hotel. I'd like a room, please. Well, you're going to have to go away and go. That signal's got to go all the way into space, go around the world, then come back before I can write anything on my computer.
Because it's not in the system. Yeah, but you're here. I know if I was in a small family-run hotel in Bath.
It'd be different.
Right.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm sure we've got a spare room. I'll get George to go and sort it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Which is also more human. Now, there's humans involved, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to take it. You think you can just zip everything off into this system? It's like when people get rid of their records and just put it into the system, and like now I don't have any artwork or. See, I'm such an an old school. You know, I just don't. I'm not good at the system, and I don't understand. People laugh. You've got CDs and like DVDs, and yeah.
No, that's not what you're talking about, though. You know, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about being a faceless, nameless cog in the machine, aren't you? You know, and just being like part of, you know, so anyone on Earth could interact with you, and you'd be the same as every other cog that they'd interact with. And I'm not. I'm totally the same. I'm not fit for that. You know?
No.
My personality just doesn't accept that kind of
it doesn't
programming.
accept it at all. I'm like, sorry. I'm just.
Yeah.
I want the record.
Yeah.
I want tangible.
Yeah.
I just want my music in this nebulous space of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it all just and now
Yeah.
and now I've got access to 10 billion things.
Yeah.
It just no. We used to sit down with one record.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Put it on and read the lyrics and look where it was recorded and see who did it.
I
and there wasn't a sidebar next to us going, oh, you could look at this or BMX things or that. You could go from this next minute, look at it, what, American BMX, right? How did I get here?
Yeah.
I keep going into this web of,
See,
and people, you know, I think it could drive people psychotic.
Well, I think it does, and I mean, I can still remember the first CD I ever bought. You know, it was REM, Automatic for the People, when I was like 13 or something. You know, and I
Some good songs on that record.
Oh, it was brilliant.
I used to hate REM, but I bought that one once. There's some good songs on it.
I wasn't even a big fan of REM. I can't remember why I bought that rather than something else. But I bought that because of probably one song in it or something. But you know, the whole thing grew on me, and you know, REM as a band grew on me. But I don't want to go off into the weeds on that. But like, you know, but the point is, I can still remember what it was like having the physical thing. But like, right, I can put this on anytime I want, and it's mine. You know, this is, you know, it's not like now where it literally is just, you know, it's in a cloud, and someone could just turn off the server, and that's it. It's all gone forever. You know?
I've watched people standing around going, Alexa or whatever it's called, play Kiss, Detroit Rock City. Do you want to hear this by Sunny Day? But no. I'm sitting, just why don't you just put the record on? How insane. How do you think this is easier than just go, track 3?
Weirdly enough, I find it more hassle to actually give the commands as well. I'd rather just press, you know.
Plus, you're giving away any kind of, now you're not doing anything. Like there's no action to your right. You're just do this. See, that's another thing that's slowly you're getting normalizing yourself into, and it's okay, isn't it? No, I don't think it is.
See, eventually it'll be done by brain patterns, won't it?
Oh, God,
so
no.
eventually they'll have something where you just think, okay, put that song on, and it's like, okay, that sounds like high tech and futuristic, but then why will I ever need to leave the chair? What kind of?
That just seems creepy to me. Just insane. Like that seems insane.
But they're already working on it. I've seen Scientific American. We've discovered that like there's a way that if someone loses an arm, they can hook it up to their brain so they can move their fingers with the brain. It's like, don't get me wrong, that's an amazing discovery, and for that makes perfect sense. But for like my music or whatever it is, I don't want that.
I mean, this god worship of scientists.
Oh yeah, I'm totally with you on this. I don't care what the experts say. I just don't care.
No, good. We're on the same level. I mean, plus I know they've used that word science and expert to just numb you into obedience. You just well, that guy said it. That guy said it. So the new priest, which also goes back into your sort of collective archetype anyway, doesn't it? Sort of because you've got religious archetypes in your collective memory, don't they? Like a sort of. Now, if you just replace them with that one, and then we can trigger you to do something with all these. Like,
they don't even have a good
track
record.
Come on, folks. You've got to stop watching telly.
Yeah. Just get outside. There's a new
I used to say years ago, if you went home, if a lot of people went home and for 1 month, just instead of watching TV, lit a fire in the backyard, and sat around and looked at it, you'd probably come out after about 2 weeks going, oh my God, I didn't know there was so much crap in me, man.
I think you're right.
The fire would burn it up, just stare at it. I mean, why can you look at fire going, it's great, I can stare at fire. So most people can say, why?
No, I totally agree.
And you just... Yeah. And what's happening in this? Well, what does fire do? Well, it burns things, doesn't it? You can have catharsis with this.
Yeah.
You can go shamanic with this.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not going to get too shamanic with this theta, beta, brainwave thing that's coming out with NLP, people all over it, nodding and going like this and showing things and then nodding, and you're just in this state. And I've never understood, even if we don't want to get into deep stuff, how people could watch films peppered with ads.
Oh, God, no.
Like how do you watch, and especially in Australia, someplace like that, it comes on like every 7 minutes or something, right? I don't know how you can get into apocalypse now if every 7 minutes as they're tretching down that river and suddenly it's carpets. Come on, how is this working for you?
No, I'm totally with you. I really think that's an interesting point about the sort of, and I do want to get into the sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, like the shamanic like side of things, like, because it's not stuff you can sit there and go, well, Dr. Fauci said this and therefore it's like, I don't care what he said. I actually am enjoying the experience of being human, and that's not scientific or rationalistic. That's the more sort of totemic, shamanic, archetypal sort of side of us, right? The side of us that we don't think about, but we live, you live within it.
Of course.
And so you're not like an outside observer watching it and analyzing it and creating a meta study about these different things. No. You're in
programmed
it.
personality ego is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's standing around. I had a great expression. Your mind's got an agenda and you're not in it.
Yeah. Right. And so I've been thinking about this a lot, like this kind of like stepping into what it is to live the life, right? So it's behind you, the analysis, and you're like at the front of it going forward. And so you're seeing what's in front of you, and the experiences that you're living through are more important than what someone analyzes afterwards, you know? But we've lost this perspective, I think. I think this is totally being taken away.
Or we can say we've lost it, or we can say that it's been like this for so long, we've all been like this for so long, that this is just the breakdown of it, because it's coming to a crisis point in that sense, Well, I had a bit of a breakdown, right? Not a bit of a breakdown, a serious one.
Oh, if you want to tell me about it, I'd like to hear.
So I learned a lot in that, right? Well, I just lived stupidly for years, never. I've worked in bands and comedy for 30 years, so I haven't slept in the night time for 30 years. I haven't had a massage of a Chinese woman once. She's just going like this on my back. Then she goes, "You'll sleep in daytime." How can you tell? I can tell. Not good.
She's not wrong, though, is she?
No, she's not wrong. I love Chinese medicine, mate. They're on the ball for me, right? Yeah. So what are we talking about? It's 8 in the morning. I've been up. So I have a bit of a breakdown in the sense of, so I lived like that. I'd never stop working. I grew up, like most comedians, in a dysfunctional house and in Australia. I always knew it, which is why in the 90s I started reading self-help books in that age, and then it was shamanism and getting into all that stuff. And I read everything back then that was around, like these, even Anthony Robbins and self-help and Celestine prophecies and all that was around. Even when I read Think and Grow Rich, these were kind of these books from the 50s. I remember there was a chapter on the subconscious mind. I never really heard about it. I've heard about the subconscious mind. And so I'm reading this thing, 90% of your behaviour patterns are dominated by this thing and the conditioning and all that. And I just thought, no one thought to mention this at school. Like,
we're acting like this doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter.
It's not a big deal, is it? Yeah.
And so, and once, I grew up in Australia, which isn't, and I was in bands and always wanted to be over here or somewhere, right? But things happen.
Yeah.
Nothing happens in Australia in a sense.
Sorry, we're in the southwest. Nothing happens here.
No, but I mean in England,
You mean London?
No, England. I mean, just for years, all the bands you've made and the stuff, and it's just, there's people here. Australia was always to me like the granny flat out the back of the earth, because I grew up, looking at metal magazines from England and just thinking, look what they're going to see this weekend. I think to see this and this. And my tour manager, he's like, he was around going to see the Damned and everything, the Clash, 1980. Oh, maybe Sunday, maybe like 6 gigs a week, mate. And, like we're in Australia, kind of just out the back, going, what's happening, right? So we made the first thrash bands there and all that stuff. And sometimes, and the culture's like that in Australia, doesn't really care about art, right? And also it's just isolated and you've got a tyranny of distance. When I grew up, there was only 14 million people on that continent.
And it's a massive continent as well.
It takes 6 hours to fly across.
Yeah,
right?
people don't realise how big Australia is, especially compared to England.
Right, 6 hours. You get in Perth and you'll land in Sydney in about 5.5 hours.
Yeah. I mean, you can take a flight from Cornwall to like the north of Scotland, and it'll take an hour.
Oh. Yeah. It's ludicrous, and you can even see how people's their psychology develops when you live on these. Because I know lots of people grew up in London, never been to Birmingham, never been to Manchester. Never been to Leeds, never been to Liverpool, never been to Edinburgh. Didn't even think, let's go and have a look at Edinburgh. It looks pretty fancy with its castle. Never even been. And there's a part of them that thinks it's a long way.
But they don't know what they're talking about.
But what they do for where they live.
Yeah.
Grew up. Like I would do gigs in Holland for about a month once. And I remember the guy picks me up. He goes, well, I'll pick you up in like 2, 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, what time's the show? He's like, 8. Oh, how far is it? You went, 60 kilometres. But to them, that's just treacherous.
No.
Right?
But it's true, It's a small world in Northwest Europe.
Yeah. And so, of course, I think there was a part of me. My point being, when I got over here, I could dismiss a lot of the stuff I knew I had to deal with in my life. I could fill it in with stuff to do.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's, you want to do this gig, you want to do that gig, you want to come to Norway, you want to do this. Plus I was in heavy metal bands, so now I can go and see heavy metal shows, I can go to this, I do comedy in the heavy metal world, I know guys in bands from here and England, so I can film myself. There's more partying, I'm making money for art for the first time. I'm sort of, oh great, all that stuff that I really knew I should deal with, I really don't have to anymore, which I think why they make all of us busy. Don't they? 5 days on, 2 days off, 5 days off, right? So you can't.
Well,
they steal our time.
If you're sat around pondering stuff, you might think anything.
Yeah.
You might get any kind of weirdo thoughts in your head. You might realise, I don't have to do any of this at all, actually.
Oh, man, they started at school. Remember, I hated school. It's like, why are you stealing my childhood? I'm having a hard enough time at home. Why do I have to come here in the day? This is horrible, right? But it is. You grow up and you realise they're just stealing your time, right? Programming you to the 5 days on, 2 days off. That's what made me think I can't join the system. I was in Australia when I was young, and I was looking at the stars. And I still remember this, and I was like, I thought, this can't be it. Like look where I'm living. This universe, and I'm supposed to just go and get a job, Steve. And
sit in an office, Steve.
Just or get the forklift and
fill out your TPS report, Steve.
Unload pallets of KFC coleslaw and put it in a warehouse, which I understand. Things need to be done, right? If we wish to live, but 5 days. I used to have that joke, why can't we have just 2 days on? 5. There's enough people. We could I'll do 2 days. Yeah. As soon as you have your first day, what's tomorrow? Last day, right? So we could handle that, but it's like. And so, yeah, when I had this breakdown, sort of, and then what? I'm just basically adrenal fatigue, as they call it now, don't they?
No, I don't know. What's that?
Oh,
mean?
you got your adrenal glands, which I didn't even know existed. And so that's when, they get pumped up when you do sport. The adrenaline comes through. Oh, I get excited, right? So, but you don't want to blow them out.
Right.
Right? You don't want to be so on the go all the time that they just, next minute, that will, especially if they start to deplete, then your body will fill with cortisol.
Right. I'm not a scientist. I have no idea what any of this means.
Right, to help with I think it's to help with the lack of thing. And so eventually that's why some businessmen who work, okay, I better take a holiday. And they go and have 2 weeks off and they have a breakdown the first week. Just suddenly the body realizes it can stop and they just blow out,
I had no idea. I'm not going to take a holiday now then. Christ, I work all the time.
And so then I was living on the road and doing that. And I wasn't really, I had a lot of knowledge, but I didn't implement it into wisdom. Yeah. And some of it's simple wisdom, like eat some decent food.
Yeah. Well, sleep at night, I think.
Sleep, because you're gigging at night and then you pump full of adrenaline, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So then sometimes you just carry it on. You just, we've got to go out because I don't know how to sleep because my brain's on fire now, right? When really I know now I should go back and listen to Om chanting and bring it all back down, bring the nervous system down. There's a guy called Peter Levine who wrote that book, Shaking the Tiger, where he worked out that, he goes, if you watch zebras when they're drinking water, they're not freaking out looking for lions, are they? Right? He goes, they're just drinking, and then the lions come, and they bolt, and one of them either gets killed or they, get away. He goes, but after that, he goes, you watch them, they go, he goes, a ripple through their bodies. So he goes, I started to realize that they're resetting the adrenaline, right? Because that's why they can then go back to the lake and just drink water. They're not all sitting around going, is there lions coming?
Yeah.
Is there lions coming, right? Because they'd all go mental.
Yeah.
Right? So they know how to recalibrate the system so they can go back, which also recalibrates them for when they need the adrenaline to kick back in when the lions turn back up. Right, so a lot of people don't do that. We don't recalibrate the system. It's just staying on high, and of course it is. That's why you don't watch the TV, and that's why there's electronic ads and that everywhere now. Why? Because it's constantly stimulating the nervous system and the system, and they're like everything. And here's a fine, and here's some tax, and here's this, and the bad news is coming, and the scientists said this, but they said this also, and they said something different. They said this, and here's a big ad telling you about Adidas sneakers now, and you've got to go up the tube. And I don't even like watching sport and that, but how do these poor sports fans now have to watch a game where there's some electronic sign going constantly around the field? Isn't this? Aren't you supposed to be watching the game?
And the thing is, you can't get away from any of it because you're addicted to seeing it. You've got to be on your phone. You've got to be on your phone. You can't get away from it.
Watching couples having dinner together on their phones is just...
It's embarrassing.
It's just
I'm just as bad. I shouldn't... My wife always complains about it. I'm like, I'm just reading the news, darling. And it's like, why am I...
you got to stop that.
I do. I know I do. Yeah. Like, I totally sympathize with the sleeping at night thing as well, because like I've been doing like YouTube for like 7 years now. And for the first like 5 or 6 years, it was like something I just did from home, right? And I was earning lots of money. And so we had everything. And so I fell into that sort of night owl routine where I'd wake up at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, stagger about for a bit, until about 5 o'clock, and then I'd start working in the evening, and I'd be up all night. And I just felt bad, I just felt physically bad.
Yeah, there's another part of my soul that kind of likes being up at night.
Well, yeah, I enjoy
Planet
it.
Scorpio, I am. I like the dark.
Yeah.
People have gone to bed.
Exactly.
The energy's gone down.
Yeah, you're on your own. And
it's
no
like when
one's
I'm touring.
interrupting
If
me.
we can get back, even if it's a 4-hour drive, and like if there's a gig, we haven't got gigs the next day, mate, let's get out of Dodge now. Oh, we could stay and get up in the morning. No. There's no one on the road. It's quiet. Yeah. I know we'll get home at 5 a.m., but let's just hit that now, right? And then just wake up in your own bed and go.
But it's not good for you.
Sorry?
It's not good for you. And this was something I've learned since. So I set up this office specifically to get out of that mode of existence. And like I said to him, right, 9 to 5. We're doing 9 to 5. I don't, and so I have to go to bed at 11 o'clock every night, or I'm shattered the next day. But just from being awake in the day, I can feel that there's a difference, and it's really bizarre.
Mate. It's just you watch nature, or there's nocturnal animals, of course, but
No, it's not the same.
But I think your whole rhythms are working with the universe, with the. You're supposed to go to. The Chinese New Year's ago, we don't eat food that's not in season, right? Because you're in season with the season. And
No, you are right.
Yeah, right.
You know, well, to say it's not true is to say that evolution didn't happen or something. You know, human beings for most of their existence lived in, you know, a state of nature where they, you know, they had to get up with the rising sun, they had to go to bed with the setting sun. You know, and so you can't pretend that this hasn't given you some kind of natural rhythm that you're supposed to be.
It just seems obvious to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of these sort of, I don't know, is it Newtonian ideas that are kind of just, let's look at the surface of things and start to dissect it into a thing. It all seems a little stupid to me. I mean, there's obviously things you've got out of it. And, Ken Wilber, I used to read him. He's an American. He's sometimes called the smartest man in America you've never heard of.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Well, he wrote these books. I read it in the 90s called The Brief History of Everything, where he started writing books on consciousness when he was like 20. And he's had a rough life. He's got quite a strange illness now, and he's old, and his wife passed away of cancer halfway through his life. He's gone through the ringer, this guy. You know?
Yeah.
But he started to sort of, you know, marry the ideas of the Eastern mysticism. And, of course, there's Western mysticism. There is, right? And then, but the way that West had started to become dominated with this empirical science, rationalistic Newtonian surface. He used to call it, like, you know, flatland. Yeah. As I was saying before, all span, no depth. Yeah. Whereas the mysticism is all depth.
Yeah.
But these are two things that you have to be in. You don't want to be dominating on one side. You know, you just end up with this surface level. And then when you look at scientists, the way they like to display themselves, to me, they look like that. Everything's sheeny and thing, and this white thing, coat, and there's nothing natural in there. We're going to be in this weird glass room where we stick our hands in gloves to play with naughty germs that we... Why don't you just go and ask Indigenous people? They go, yeah, we know about that too. I wouldn't touch it if I was you. Nature put it there. We learned, don't touch that, right? Yeah. So it's all... That's what I used to think when I grew up in Australia, because, you know, you're on this vast continent with you're a colonist, right? So, and it's a very controlled culture. You go into that as well. But I thought it's interesting. It'd become quite shallow. In Australia, you get treated like a child in a way.
Really? Well, how so?
Well, the whole place is, to me, this is the way I saw it anyway, right? To me, sometimes the whole place, you've always been spoken to through the media and everything, like the whole place is a big country town.
Really?
In a way, like, you know, and they'll say things like, well, that's very un-Australian. Right? They want to shame you, right? It's very un-Australian. I used to think, well, okay, what is Australian? For me to be un-Australian, what is this Australian? Because I know that we don't have... I was doing shows in Sweden once, and I'm sitting backstage with the Swedish guys, and I'm looking at them thinking, well, they're Swedish guys in Sweden with Swedish parents, Swedish grandparents, Swedish great-grandparents. Yeah. Maybe someone married a French woman along the way, but you know what I'm saying. So I thought, well, they're Swedish. Aren't they? And with that comes Swedish culture and memory, genetic myths, ritual. But when you're a colonist, well, you're no one. You're just a white man in a black man's country in the middle of Asia. Right.
See, right. That's really interesting because, like, obviously I'm English, so like.
Yeah, well, same here. You're English, so there's English stuff and England ritual and English history
But there does seem, from the outsider's perspective, to be something like that in Australia, right? Like, I can see something that I would call Australian culture that I would differentiate between, you know, New Zealand or Canada or America.
Well, I know what you're saying in the sense of you could see that from the sense of Australian culture, but what I'm saying is I don't think there's a collective unionizing spiritual history within them. It's not like they're Romanian where they've got 1,000-year history or something and they've fought to defend that land against who, or maybe I don't know my history in that sense, but Turks or whatever, that. Well, Australians have never defended that land.
Well, the way the Chinese are going, you're going to have to.
They might have to, right? Yeah. They've never done that.
Yeah.
And then you've been, you know, they've got this convict thing.
Yeah.
So they're not like Americans. They went there. My therapist in Australia said to me, he goes, Australians are shame-based people, whereas Americans are shameless.
That's true.
Right?
That's very true.
And so where do you get this shame from? Well, if you think about it, if you're Welsh or English or Irish or Scottish or whatever they dragged over there, right? You've been pulled from the motherland, right? So even if you're having an individual psychological session about your own life, right? If you had abandonment issues, that's what I had with my mother, right? What's that usually give you? Shame, self-loathing stuff if you're on an individual level, right? So what if you've been pulled from the mother and then dumped down here? And plus you're a convict. Right. And so then if that can develop what? Well, abandonment issues, shame.
What kind of culture does that
isolation,
create? Yeah.
right? And
Especially when you are isolated, you're so far away.
Totally isolated. And then what do? Well, there was obviously, to me, elite plans to get rid of these indigenous people anyway, because they're cosmic people, and they've known this for generations. They worked through Europe first, didn't they? Let's burn witches and heathens and pagans, and now let's go and get Africans into the cosmic people. That we're going to evolve into American Indians. These are indigenous people that sit around going, and people think, are they savages? No, they know what they're doing. They go like this. They're not just doing it because they're stupid, right?
No. I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, there's something about living within a tradition that is meaningful and does have weight. And
of course it has weight because, well, to me, we're getting back to this thing. I think that what they do then is they projected this kind of shame onto Aboriginals and then pull them from the mother. They pull them from the great mother. So
Misery loves company.
Now there's these two traumatised groups of people. One more victimised by the oppressor than the others. But they're both traumatised in a way. And so, this could be like Jungian shadow work, isn't it? There's these great wounds in there, these great traumas. I used to think, coming over to England, you can still have Scottish people, of course, going bloody English and all this and Irish. And some of them, they've got valid reasons, right?
a lot of them don't have anything else.
But also, will this constant being on their back about this part of history do you any good? No, it's probably something you've got to heal as a collective, right? I used to think, well, at least Australians didn't sort of have that. There's no one's kind of white Australians. No one's, they're not going bloody Irish or bloody this. No one's done anything to them on that. So I thought, so maybe they're free of that, right? But they've got this big thing, which is also connected to what they did to the Aboriginals, which is this genocide. Right? It's a deep wound. Right? It sits under there. And then the Australian white culture that I grew up in, it becomes very kind of, as I said, it's quite bland and obedient, and you've got to be a little mediocre. And it becomes a little just boring in my sense, right? Because it's quite topographical, if that's a word for it to describe it. And I thought, which is interesting, because now they're sitting probably next to the most ancient cosmic people in the universe.
I see what you're saying. There's no soul,
this great dichotomy with these ancient cosmic indigenous people. With these people that are like this. And I thought, because these Aboriginals, if you got on, they go, come in. Because they're not after, because they're into, brothers and sisters, come into the universe, So, and that's like when I had a breakdown, I was a mess, serious depression and all this stuff. And then when I was going through it, I realised, I thought, well, what did I do to myself? Well, I polluted it. Like if my body was like a society and if everything is a sort of mirror in the outside, this is like a microcosm of, say, the macrocosm, isn't it? Right? So here's my body, which could be a world, and what have I done to it? Well, I've worn it out. I've treated it badly. I've poisoned it with chemicals, and bad food, and bad thinking. And then I've got an unprocessed childhood of trauma, probably shame, like the thing itself, right? Haven't done it, covered it up with action and sedatives, right? Yeah. And then I thought, well, and what happened? Well, it collapsed into a poisoned, broken down. And then in that state, a lot of the unprocessed trauma was easier to come up. Plus, I'm in my mid-40s by this time, so it's been waiting for decades anyway. Well, we're not going away.
Right? You can build a structure on this all you want, but eventually that's going to come down.
Eventually, the lava comes out of the volcano, right? Yeah. And now you put your body into this weakened state. Well, here we go. You want to go through a rough ride through hell, sunshine, Well,
no, you're right. I can see exactly what you're saying, because as soon as this, it's like you're on a roller coaster, isn't it? To escape this problem. But as soon as the roller coaster's over and for the COVID or something, right, you can't go anywhere for 2 years or whatever. Okay, now what? Now you've just got to look inwards, and
this is why you could almost look at this as going, okay, here's this happening.
Yeah.
And are you going to sit in that house and watch Netflix and listen to these fear porn things, or are you going to start to go,
or you stare into the fire?
No, stare into the fire.
Yeah.
Stare into the fire, First thing I did, first week they did this lockdown stuff, I just went straight down there's a big park I stayed in Manchester, a big heath. I went straight down there. I didn't know if it was true or not. Okay, well, I knew that, okay, someone's up to mischief, but, okay, is it real, right? So straight down to the park, I looked around for the right rocks that want to be the fireplace. I built a fireplace because I thought, what do I need? Well, I need smoke, dirt, air. nature, wind. It was handy growing up in the bush in Australia because I just grew up in the bush, so I know what it does. Right. So I just sat there in the park. I remember this black guy came round. He was just going, "You like that fire, mate?" I went, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll join you."
Really?
Yeah. He goes, "I like your style, mate." I said, "Well, come over, mate." Right.
Yeah, let's have a chat, right?
Right. So I mean, this black guy sat there for about 3 hours, and he had some drums with him, and we're playing drums. He was a little nutty.
Sure.
Not that I'm not in the sense of the mainstream.
But yeah, exactly. From his perspective, he's probably thinking, look at this nutter.
But I don't know whether he had maybe ADD or one of those things if you're real, or maybe he's just, but he was quite wise. You know, he's in a, but this is what happened to me. I remember because it was the first week, we go to say goodbye. We were there for a couple of hours. And we went to do this elbow thing, right? And I just went, because I felt the fear come up in me. It's this guy got that. Yeah. And then as soon as that fear came up, I thought, well, that's what they want. These fear porn people. They want this. And I thought, no. That's mine. Right? I face the fear. You know what I mean? Because most people, I think this is what they did. The fear comes up. There's a big virus going around, and it goes. Because that's a great one to use, isn't it? Because it's
invisible.
It's invisible. It goes to the oldest primordial. Yeah. Thing of your
disease
and also your existence, death,
sickness, fear,
and just death into the void where we're all going. But it crosses boundaries and cultures and everyone that goes into the animal. Like
no, it's worse though, because I mean there are certain types of death that are desirable. It's noble and honourable to die in certain ways.
Oh yeah, I know.
Not to be
that's another point,
wasted away and from a coughing from a disease. That's a horrible death.
That's another good point. That's good.
There's no honour in it. There's no glory. There's nothing nourishing about it. It's all.
So I thought, well, I don't. I'm not going to let them have this. This is mine. I got to look at that. And then I think the programming was almost like, because then it was like, oh, you've got to help everybody else, or you'll kill Granny and all this stuff. So then I think, well, that's a way for, as the fear comes up, don't you look at it, just have it sit there and now project outwards. Well, it's not me, it could be you. I've got to get everybody else into my life because I'm not going to own this. So now I can project it outward again and just. I thought, no, that's mine. And I haven't been scared since. I just went, okay, that's going to be over with. Well, I know what's going on. I mean, scared about other things that I think could happen from this, but not scared of the things they're telling me to be scared of. You know what I mean? So I thought, no. I've wandered around the world. I've been to India. People go, did you get booster shots? No. Did you get things? No, I didn't. When I heard people got flu shots, I thought they got flu shots because they had the flu. This is how ignorant I am to the nation. I didn't know people got them every year.
I didn't. I
thought, well, winter's coming. I thought, well, get your hat.
Yeah. Getting a flu is just part of life.
I didn't know that. I thought you get gloves and a hat, and I've got this cool scarf, and well, it's going to be cold outside. Here we go, right? And I've been to India, wander around these markets where people are buying chicken heads on bits of cardboard in the sun, right? But what happened to me? I can't eat one. Someone from there could because their body has gone, right, well, we've got to deal with this now, right? But not me. They tell you when you get there, don't drink the water. Don't do this. Mickey Flanagan does a great comedy bit about it.
Well, my sister went out to India. She's a vegetarian and she still got the runs. So it's like, right, okay, it must be something pretty perennial over there,
Oh, of course, you got to get right into it.
Yeah.
But I also think the mind is very powerful. I think a part of me saved me was like, well, I never thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm invincible now, right? No. If I want to go lick dogs in the middle of Mumbai or something. Right. But I just never thought about it, so it never really crossed my mind. So I think there's a lot of power in that. I
find the way you describe the Aboriginals in Australia really fascinating. I really love the word you use, cosmic people. I don't know why, but that's playing in my brain at the moment because I've been thinking about this kind of like, scientific order that's being created where it's like the office space where everyone has got this kind of, the unhuman ritual, right? It's like there are rules that are a group of people who are just stuck on an island would never write themselves. They would never come up with these rules. But these rules have been like, right, okay, so we have to accommodate literally every person from around the world within these rules. So the rules are very abstract and they're very formal and, everyone sits in shirts in offices and I'm looking at that thinking, right, okay, how far can this go until it's eventually like literally humans are the problem with the system. you know? And then you compare it to the what you were saying about the cosmic people, where it's like, they don't think about these things at all. You know, they're just living their lives and actually, you know, first person experiencing them. There's no managerial instinct there where it's like, right, okay, well, you know, Joe's going to get the didgeridoo and then we're going to, you know, do this for 45 minutes and then we'll have a tea break and then, you know, it's like, none of that. And it's a totally, like, it's literally like two civilizations coming apart. And I'm just watching it thinking, okay, which one do I belong to, you know? And I was in my head,
cosmic people. I've already made my mind up years ago.
Yeah, well, no, that was the thing, because all through my youth, you know, I went to university, did computer science. I hated it. I didn't know why I was doing it. It was because I could do it, you know. Like I was the only person I knew, never take any retakes, you know. I just sat there, did the work, did the exams, was like, yeah, this is easy, you know, I know how this is done. But I just really hated it. And so my second year I just dropped out and just, you know, worked in IT. I just, you know, I'll fix this, I'll build this, you know, because I've got, you know, natural aptitude for it, stuff like that. You know, I was ended up, you know, working in offices, doing tech support or updating websites, and I was never suited for it, you know, and I was always getting in trouble because I was pushing the boundaries. I was always trying to be like, you know, yeah, but you know, let's have a laugh. Let's be human about all of this. And you know, I didn't realize that that's becoming less and less appropriate. And that's what I see this
less and less appropriate to be human. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. No, I think that's the case though, because this is what I think that political correctness is really about. It's, you know, like the sort of particulars, you know, about like, look, this is what I am like. And this has never been bad up until this point. And yet now, all I've got is people saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, come on, man, I'm not hurting anyone, right. You know? And it just feels like this splitting apart.
I used to do this joke, you know, about, do people even think about this? To go, oh, I'm going to buy a plot of land and get a house and that. And I always used to think, you're going to buy land off who?
Whoever owns it.
Who took it?
Yeah.
Who took? Because I used to say, see, Aboriginals don't. They know you can't buy land. They know you can't own land. Why? Because it's not. What are you talking about? It's already here. Plus, they know that one day you're going somewhere, and the land isn't. So why do I have to buy it? Some structure has taken it, claimed ownership. Way back in history. 10, 60 cents when they demark things, don't they? And they start to go, well, this is my bit now and that, right? And now, see, because you should just have some land. Why? Because you're going to die and then someone else will be on the land. It's recycles, but someone over the years has demarcated this thing. You go, well, we own it. And if you'd like some, we'd like now $250,000 before the house. You're just paying to live here.
See,
and that's not the plan. That's not the way the universe is supposed to be. We live in this unending universe of inner and outer universe, which is kind of the same thing. But just and now we've got to just pay some tax and pay a fine. And it's just.
I can. So I think I can make the sort of tribal argument for land ownership. Like, so you can look at England.
Or maybe in the sense of structures of law and how you can do this. But in the deep cosmic sense, I mean, you're not owning it. It's molecules.
No. I know. But what I mean is, I totally take your point here, right? Because from like the Aboriginal sense, their sort of cosmic universe, you know, their little.
Well, I must admit, I'm not speaking on behalf of that. I know the insights of all Aboriginals. What I've seen from the
no.
They're not living like white Australians.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, I've never been to Australia, so I've never hung out with these people. But I'm sure you know that. But I can totally see that within their sort of like self-contained universe, you know, their little cosmos, that doesn't make any sense. But then I'm just thinking of like, you know, okay, what's like the English cosmos, right? And like, you know, because that's what I know, and it does make sense because you want your own, you know, your own little garden to be able to tend to over here, right? And so, you know, and then for our tribe, we've got a bunch of rules, right? And everyone knows these rules, and it's the same as the Aboriginals having their own rules. No one made these rules up; they just sort of emerged because everyone's like, okay, well, you know, we'll just are like that, right?
I understand completely what you're saying. Yeah. I'm just saying. You shouldn't have to pay any money for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but
I'll have my here's my bit with the fence and the recording studio and the nice trees around it. But I shouldn't have to pay for it because when I'm gone, someone else can have it.
But I mean, I guess I could argue like, you know, inheritance and things like that. You know, maybe I don't know. But like what I'm saying is though, while they are different, like ways of looking at the world. they're still like little cosmic ways of looking at the world. You know, this isn't the scientist who's coming along to, because if you look at the way that England structures, it's all just natural. It's very natural. And like I've been reading Roger Scruton a lot, this conservative philosopher.
I like Roger Scruton.
He's great.
He's great.
And the way he's like, look, you know, if you go to, I mean, it's the difference between English cities and American cities. I can't stand American cities. Grid. Yeah, go to Bath. You know, go to Bristol. It's a little warren of, you know.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Same here. It feels natural. It feels like something that sprung out of the earth, because it did. I mean, it literally did. It wasn't rational. And so,
if you see an old stone building sitting immersed in the side of a hill, it looks like the hill.
It looks like it
but
should
be. If you stuck
a
1970s horrible square,
a brutalist grey concrete, I can't stand it.
It'd look.
Yeah. If no one was looking, I'd take a hammer to it. You know what I mean? I honestly would.
Completely.
I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I view like brutalism as a form of kind of architectural terrorism. You know, you are hurting people by putting up this giant square concrete block.
I agree completely. Like those horrible yellow things we were talking about, the robots, and you're putting up this thing. It's like, no.
But like me and my wife actually, for our anniversary, went to a spa weekend, and you should have seen this building. It was like, you know, like very like lime covered stone, you know, slate tiles, and it was, you know, beautifully like old English sort of building, and it's got ivory growing up all along the sides, and the ivory's fluttering in the light breeze and the sun. And I was just sat there like drinking a cup of tea, watching this, thinking, this is something you can't find anywhere else on earth. You can't get this anywhere else. And this building's probably hundreds of years old. You know, the surrounding, the well-tended gardens have probably been here for generations time immemorial, you know, and God willing, they'll go on, you know. And like, I'm sat there thinking, right, and I was lucky enough to just enjoy that, you know, and I remember that more than, you know, sitting in the saunas and in the pool. You know, that was more interesting and important to me. And I was just thinking about it, like, and I like the term cosmic people. That's interesting, you know. That's
well, it's funny you say you're looking at the leaves slither and all that, and sometimes, you know, so I was saying, looking at the fire, we forget to look. I was just living in Scotland for a few months, and we could walk right under the Forth Bridge, so you could walk into the woods straight away next to the beach, and the light when spring hit that come through those green trees, it's like no other green you can get anywhere, and sometimes you just forget to sit down and look at a leaf, just look at it, right? It's telling you things, right? Look at this. You're part of it. It's not just nature. It's like my buddy. It's funny the way we live. My buddy lives in Sweden. He's Irish. He goes sometimes, Steve, I just sit at the window. I just sit there for about 2 hours. And my brain goes blank, mate. I just sit there. And then my wife comes in. You all right? What's wrong? I go, isn't it funny how we've created a society where a man content gets asked, you all right? What's wrong?
No, I got the same thing when I climbed Ben Nevis about a decade ago. And we were about like, you know, a third of the way up or something. I'd run out of water in my water bottle. I was like, oh shit, that was stupid. Why did I only bring one? What a fucking idiot I am. But we're going along, and then we come to just this river or stream, you know, and it's literally just a spring that's coming out the side of the mountain, pouring down and coming along. And it was crystal clear. And I'm sat there going, oh God, I wonder if this is safe to drink. You couldn't have found more pure water anywhere else on the earth. And I'm sat there going, I wonder, you know, it's not coming out of a tap, you know, it hasn't been treated with chemicals. Like, and it's totally in the brain. And so, you know, I feel the thing.
And when you drink that water, you realise water does have a taste.
It does. It was crystal clear. It was cold and it tasted good.
Yeah,
it tasted
good. It's got all the minerals from the rocks and the dirt, you know, and it's all going like this.
And yet I was sat there worried that this was going to poison me. And I remember looking up at the spring and just thinking, there is something weird going on in my mind when I'm looking at this. Like, it was, you know, I was in my 20s, I didn't know anything, but like I just remember thinking, okay, there was something about it that, again, I can recall very clearly and very vividly, you know, going across this stream and just the interaction with it. And I don't know why that was significant to me.
Oh, I think I can see why it's highly significant. It's a little program in you, isn't it? That's taking you away from the natural world, you know. Yeah, I was quite lucky growing up in Australia where I just kind of swam around drinking the water and just carrying on. Because we lived in sort of the Blue Mountains, which is about 100 kilometres out of Sydney. It's kind of like suburbia, you know, just houses, but it's in the bush.
Yeah,
you could just
walk out of your garden and into it.
Well, you could walk in and into a gorge.
Yeah.
like a huge gorge with huge boulders that have fallen off the side, and it's formed a cave, and you would just sleep in here for 3 days, and there's just a river going through it. We just want to jump off the rock into the river and just, where do you get the water from? Well, there, mate, drink the water, right? You know.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean you just wander around. You can't believe me. There's some water you don't want to drink. But it's probably been infected with the world we're talking about. Of course it has. Otherwise, it would be, the American Indian, I listened to this guy the other day. He just said, when the white man got here, if he'd joined us and lived like us, he goes, you could still drink out of every lake in this country. Of course you could. The earth's there giving you showing you every day. Look, here it is, and that's what's funny, that we are in the structured worlds. I mean, you get a seed that big and you put it in, and then 3.5 tons of mangoes come out.
It's amazing how we
look at it. Look at what it's showing you. Look, here it is. That's when they go, there's too many people in the world. Is there? Who told you that?
Yeah, there's not.
Of course there isn't. Right?
That's nonsense.
And then people just go, well, everyone knows it, isn't it, Steve? No, how do you know it?
Yeah.
You know it because everyone knows it. So who told everyone?
I mean, what an anti-human
What an
response.
anti-human thing to think that in this universe that I used to do a joke about it. I was saying you like God or whatever you want to think in that perspective made people, and they went, oh shit, there's not enough stuff. There'll be too many of them, and they'll run out of oil, and they won't. No. You're living in a archaic psychological prison.
You're living in a managerial prison.
Yeah, managerial
as well.
prison.
You look at my spreadsheets. The numbers aren't tallying on my spreadsheets. There are too many people. And it's like, look, if you've got to the point where it's too many people, maybe the way you're looking at things is the problem. If the people become the problem is probably you. You've taken a perspective that's unhuman.
Yeah.
And why?
Anti-life.
Yeah, exactly. Why? Why are you living like this?
Yeah, I know why, because we're all being programmed, me included. Yeah. That's why I laugh for you when you're going, can I drink out of that Highland spring? We've all been. That's why I love it when people say to me, well, do you think I'm brainwashed, Steve? And I think, well, yeah, we all got brainwashed.
Yeah.
How did you get out of it?
Yeah.
Did you watch TV all your life? Yeah. Did you go to school? Yeah. Well,
you're still in it.
We all got it. I got it. I'm not saying I'm just some cosmic gypsy floating around without any hard programs wired into me.
Yeah.
But you got to start to realise, yes, you are programmed. And then because people think, conspiracy theory that I'm supposed to make you believe something. Or I'm always like, no. It's not about that. It's about you breaking down your beliefs. So what happens to me is because they always sit with conspiracy theory people that they call us. And now on YouTube, you always said, just because you watched a couple of videos on YouTube, you think you know what's going on. I'm like, no. Read hundreds of books.
Yeah.
Remember books? Like hundreds of them.
The collected wisdom of mankind.
But I've read, and there's people that don't think the same, and that isn't in the mainstream. And so now you just think that, I admire their confidence in the sense that they think that things they don't know exist couldn't be happening.
And the
I don't mock people. I understand why, because they took your time. 5 days on, 2 days off. Right? See the things, how it's all, these connect dots. I've got great friends in Australia, 30 years old. Excuse me, I've known them for 30 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll listen to me. They're not always, shut up, Steve, you're an idiot. Right? They listen to me, right? I know their life. Well, they got married, had a couple of kids, they got their job, they like sport. They like riding motorbikes. They see their mum once a month. They're going at this, right? Nothing wrong with this. I'm not judging you, right? But I know they haven't done what I've done. They haven't looked into what I've looked into. You know what I mean? So they haven't read this stuff. They haven't read hundreds of books on where did money come from, or cosmic metaphysics, or this or that, or new world orders, or ruling elite families, or this. So they don't know about it.
But they've been kind of created by their own system, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they're a product of the rationalistic scientific civilization.
Yeah, which we all were. We all were in that thing.
Yeah, we're
right?
all in it. Yeah.
But I don't understand why they get so. But it's funny. I said to my friend once, he was saying something about something on YouTube, I said, Facebook or something. I said, so listen to this stuff you're talking about. You understand? It's not as cut and dry as that. You get a lot of this stuff's just been fed to you. They always come back, well, you think I'm stupid? No, I didn't say you were stupid. I'm just saying I know some stuff that maybe could give you a different perspective on it. Right? I said, do you trust me? And he went, yeah. But then I realised, I've known him for 40 years as one. why would I want to do him any harm?
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't. But I realise he doesn't trust me because the program is, yeah, but it's only Steve.
He only trusts you if you are saying the things that he's expecting to hear from the scientific rationalistic perspective.
Or not even that. I think it's also a program just going, yeah, but Steve, what would Steve know compared to people on the news?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they'd never lie to you. I mean, Christ.
Or even just the TV, because that's where, well,
Yeah.
well, they're in their suits and we've got this, and everybody's telling it. So why they wouldn't be lying, would they? Why would they do this? Yeah. So they just instinctively go over there, whereas like these people could really harm. I wouldn't wish harm on you.
No,
and I'm not trying to force my ideas, but I just realised you don't trust me. Just realising I couldn't. It's just Steve, me mate.
But remember, you're just, to those people, you're just numbers on a spreadsheet. They don't know who you are. You're an audience demographic. You're a number on a spreadsheet. You're not a person. You're an abstract. You are literally abstracted. He can't tell you. They can't tell you anything about what was Bob's name or whatever. They can't tell you what's Bob's habits. What's Bob like? What's Bob find funny? They don't know anything about Bob except that he has watched them at this point and he does this job and blah blah. It's just very abstract. This all the human bits have been taken away, and they're laying them out in the spreadsheet. And you're right. So for my universal,
here's Bob.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got the spreadsheet of Bob, and it's like, yeah, but Bob's way more than that. I know Bob. I know what he's like. I've seen him under pressure and stuff like this. You can't numerically represent.
No, of course not. He's a great track on one of the. Is it the last track on Sumner's Tales Sting album? It's exactly that. The lyrics are exactly that.
Yeah.
You can take my taxation number and my thing, and you can look at this, and you can say that, you can draw this about me and say that, but you don't know what's going on.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally true. And it's weird how I was part of the system, right? Like I was always very dismissive of what I guess we'll just describe as the human experience, the cosmic experience. Because I was like, well, that's all not real. And it's like, well, okay, but what do you mean by real exactly? Because when these people are going through it, like they feel that it's real, and like when I'm watching the ivory just ripple in the breeze, I'm feeling something very real there. There's a romantic feeling, there's a very aesthetic feeling. It's to enjoy and feel satisfied and comfort, and like I don't need to just get up and do something. I haven't got a deadline, and I
even look at it like.
That is real.
If I can describe, like if you're looking at the light bristle through these trees, I even look at it like I'm seeing myself. This beauty is myself.
But that's a beauty,
and not just beauty like my ego beauty. No, I'm of the world. Not the world, spreadsheet.
Not the spreadsheet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, it's just, and that will replenish you. Why? Because now it's saying hello to you. It's saying.
But it makes you feel like
this is how I describe. Maybe I said a bit bad, but that's.
I'm with you because it's about feeling at home somewhere, isn't it? You feel safe in the world around you. You feel like you should be there. Things, I don't feel like I should be sat in an office worrying about TPS reports. I just don't feel that should be my life.
No.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
No. I mean, I was always into art, so I kind of jumped out real early.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't good at sport. I wasn't good at school. I didn't like this. This is all boring. Maybe my dysfunctional family was a great gift in a way, because in that sense, well, you got it. So, how are you going to use it, And so I was sitting around Australia going, what am I going to do? I can't get girls. I don't like sport. I can't do maths. My brain doesn't work like that. It's totally right brain. I think my left brain's like a grape, right? Send an email. I can't. I'll draw a picture.
Yeah.
So I saw Iron Maiden at 16. It was like a bullet through my brain.
Yeah,
Bang, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then I did it.
Yeah.
In less than 10 years, I was playing at the Hammersmith Odeon.
That's amazing, man.
Why? Because it just became, and so it was totally underground thrash metal. So being an outsider was also so easy, and it was kind of good because I don't know how to go in there. And it's also lying to me. It goes, I'll get a job so you've got security. But then I used to watch men who'd been my friends' fathers go through this thing, and then suddenly this company just drops and falls, and there is no security.
But moreover, are you sure I want security?
Yeah, exactly.
I actually love that I don't know what's happening tomorrow.
Here's what I learned. You've got to take that risk. What was my chances of success making a death metal band, the first thrash metal band in Australia in 1984 in 100 miles outside of Sydney? What's the chances
Probably
of success?
fairly small.
Zilch. right? But the underground started. I wrote a lot of letters and did all this. So you could go to Norway now and buy a T-shirt of my first band, right? Only put one demo out, right? But it's underground, right? But I got it known, right? And that's what I don't like about this victim mentality we have now, because they're taking away that spirit. Of getting it done when it's, because we grew up with stories of, this fellow, got sent to an orphanage and then got kicked out at 12 and then lived on the streets on a train till he was 15 and then worked in an iron thing and then started his own little shop and did that and did that and then he did this from hell.
Yeah. And
we used to get see how these men and women can do it.
But that's the human spirit.
That's
the
about, right?
And
now it's like, well, how come I'm not included and why don't? Right, and you're taking away the chance to be to get into the challenge. Well,
that's it.
It's almost different now. I say it in my show. It's like when I grew up, you had your punks and metalheads, and everyone's an outsider and goths, proper outsiders. Wandering around Australia in 1981 with a pink mohawk, people will stop in utes, right? What's going on over there?
Fitting
right?
in,
right? And so now you've got all these people right around at 20 years old with their purple hair, but what they're doing is
they're fitting in again.
They're begging for the very system they think they're radicalised against to accept them. Right, whereas you walk around with a mohawk in 1981, you're not surprised when you go to the bank to get a job and they say no.
Yeah.
And you don't go, well, it's discrimination, because you've dressed up like this to be discriminated against, right? This is why I know I'm not going to get a job at the bank because I don't want to get a job. This is why I talk this.
That was exactly that was exactly it. Because I remember literally years ago, there was I had an eyebrow piercing when I was like 19, and I got refused from jobs. And it was, you think now, an eyebrow, but it's such a small thing. I'm not covered in tattoos and I haven't got green hair or anything, but I'd get refused from jobs. My dad you should take that out if you want to get a job. And I was like, no, I kind of don't though. That's the point. That was exactly the point. And you're exactly right. And now you're exactly right. They're all like unionized. A bunch of like people who are wearing like they're individuals with their different color hair and all their piercings and their weird lifestyles and stuff like that. And they're like, right, okay, bring us into the corporate world. It's like, why? Why do you, they're begging for they've been tricked. It's a monumental trick. Yeah.
It's almost like when they first put out Revenge of the Nerds films, I thought, look, they're trying to get the outsiders. They're trying to pull all the outliers in.
But it's the universal sort of corporate culture, that spreadsheet culture. So look, we can have that person on a spreadsheet because it doesn't matter what they look like or what they're doing. It's just another number on the fucking spreadsheet, whereas back in the day. And also this stuff,
what it does is it now it's so complex. It's so genius. I mean, hats off to the enemy, right?
I like the enemy. I like the way you frame that because honestly, I'm looking at this political correctness, corporate culture, and being like, whatever that is, one day I'll be up in arms against it.
Oh well, because what it also does is then they start to go, well, you have to be able to accept everyone the way they are, and we've got an equity, a social equity thing you've got to fulfil, right? But see, if Bob and Janet run the garden centre that mainly sells to middle class, mainstream families who want some pots and plants, but they go, well, now you have to have a goth guy in there. Well, no. It takes away his freedom to run it the way he sees fit.
Yeah.
If he's told you have to have this amount of people, now there's another freedom gone, right? He goes, well, I just need a normal bloke with some beige slacks who knows about manure and pots and wouldn't mind working here, you know how to talk to people, customers, mainly my demographic is, mums and dads and families come in, old ladies buy some plants and pots and some blokes who like gardening. I don't need a guy with a sort of discharge shirt. Right? But if you go, well, you have to have one, now you've taken away his right to do what he wants and sees fit and how he should.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, there's nothing valuable about inclusivity. Like, all value comes from exclusivity. Whereas these people can't be allowed in here for a reason, and that the thing that you've built is built on what you exclude. And so you've got barriers. So you've got this is for these things and not these things, and so now we can build on top of that and on top of that. But if you level that, you've got nothing to build on.
You've got nothing. I used to describe it like
exactly
that Neapolitan ice cream. You get chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. They're demarcated.
Yeah.
This modern culture is like, well, we just get a spoon and we mix it all up into this glue.
Now I can't taste the chocolate, and then which is my
what
favourite bit.
Well, it's just a kind of grey blue blob of nothing.
That's a great way of putting it.
Here's your new culture. What is it? Well, now there's no direction either. There's no direction. So once there's no direction, well, who's going to direct you?
Well, whoever.
We know who's going to direct you.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? But it all lines up well on my spreadsheet. No one's left out of the spreadsheet. Everyone's on it, and it's like I don't really want to be on it. But
No. It's. Oh, I mean, it's happening. I can see it. It's happening in comedy. It's happening in. It's happening in these. Happening at my friend's still in a band. She lives in Germany. I booked up she booked a festival, and then so we got to have this amount of bands and this amount of bands, and they use words like in comedy or music, it's a male-dominated. See, there's the trigger word. Dominated industry. It's not a male-dominated industry. More men did it.
Yeah.
Why? Because more men do things like comedy and bands. They're
more adventurous.
Right. Well, you're saying there's no funny women. No, I've seen funny women. Not as many women choose to do things like this, right? It's not, why? Because it was dominated by, no, it wasn't.
My spreadsheet, that's what they're saying every time. It
wasn't dominated by, because now these little PC people now, I was in bands back in the early 80s, and I grew up watching Susie and the Banshees and Kate Bush and these, and so now what you do is you piss on their legacy. Because if it was harder for them then, they still did it.
It's even more heroic.
More heroic, right? Yeah. And they still did it.
Yeah.
And the amount of saying it was so harder for them, a lot of it, mate, I've been in the English comedy circuit for 20 years. If you're funny, you get a gig.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing. So this is a strategy works. Comedy rooms want good acts.
And that's the
so
value
people
of
come
it.
back to their clubs. So
that's the value of it.
If a Middle Eastern woman with a turban thing on or something started raking the floor like Michael McIntyre, they'd ring her up.
Yes.
Do you want to do my club? Do you want to do my club? Well, they don't care, right? They want to come and do the club, right?
Yeah.
Because everything's kind of, we've been told that wasn't happening. But I was there. It was happening. Well, I was doing the circuit.
But no, you know what they're saying though, it wasn't happening, right? Because that one woman who was really funny, she the barrier is you've got to be funny, right? Okay, so she gets past the barrier, so she's in the exclusive area. But there are a bunch from outside who aren't funny, and they're like, well, why can't we come in? Well, because you're not funny.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of blokes outside that aren't funny.
Exactly,
that don't come in, right? It's the same as if I joined the football team and every practice, Steve comes in 9 minutes behind everybody else and can't really kick the ball with any kind of direction. Then eventually they go, well, Steve, you can't play in the team anymore. Why?
Well, that's not very inclusive.
It's
not inclusive. You've got to include me.
Of course, it's not inclusive. Why? Steve can't play football, right? I mean, how did you mess? How did this become such a mess? Right? It was so easy when I grew up, and it was like, and also as this. If people want to go, "Are you sexist or this or that?" Mate, I'll try and explain to you people, right? When I grew up, I watched the TV, and then I watched shows, and there was white men on there and white women on there. And then I'd watch American shows. Not too many black people in Australian shows. But then I watch Good Times and the Jeffersons and all this, right? All there now. There's some black people on the telly.
I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I'd see Chinese people on the telly. I'd see men, women. I'd listen to music and there was women singing songs and men singing songs. See, this is what happened to me, you young people. I never thought that anyone couldn't do anything. Why? Because I could see it happening in front of me.
Yeah.
There's Kate Bush. Singing her songs. Do you like them? Yeah. I wasn't thinking, what's that chick doing?
A woman?
Yeah. Right. One of the greatest genius artists. And the funny thing is most of the music I listen to now is all women. It's all Enya, Lisa Gerrard, Kate Bush, Tori Amos, Amy Whitehouse, PJ Harvey, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because they're geniuses, right?
Yeah.
But is there as many women that get into making bands and that as men? No. It's not against the law. I'd go and see Rush, right, when it existed, right? Now, what are they? A sort of prog rock band that merged into a sort of sing songs about science fiction or politics or social psychology, and they write 12-minute tracks, and then you go to see them in Manchester when I did, and they have an interval because they do 2 halves, and then you've never seen a longer line for the men's toilet, right? And the women's toilet's empty. Why? Because there's no women here, right? There is some women here, and I've gone out with women, because I was in the music world, who like Rush. Now, it's not against the law for ladies to like Rush or buy Rush records or go to Rush gigs or get Rush T-shirts or posters. It's not against the law, but they don't come here. Because they're not interested in 3 non-sexy guys doing 12-minute tracks about science fiction, right? It's just put Lenny Kravitz in some leather pants, sweating and a stroking guitar, and they might be a little more interested. I'll come and watch this, right? Oh, you're saying they're shallow and they don't like Lenny Kravitz and that. No.
It's just human nature. It's God. It's just
right. Just they're not interested in just 12. Man, there's even the Rush movie where they walk backstage, they film them come off this big gig, and I think the guitarist says to the drummer, he goes, I saw 7 chicks out there tonight. You know, I don't know why these people got. Well, I do know why they got all.
But I've got a dearth on my woman spreadsheet column. You see, it's all men, and I need this to balance out.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Like, why do they care? Who cares? You know, the manager cares. That's who. The guy who's like, well, but my columns, and I am over it. I'm just over it.
Plus, it goes like this: if you're going to go, okay, here's a hierarchical thing in a corporation. You go, okay, there's 70% men in the CEO positions and 30% women, and we know what this equity thing. So we better sack 20% of those men and fill it up so that it's even. And then we're going to do it on every level, right down to the janitors, right? We're going to do it.
Oh, yeah, no, never get to that.
Right. But wouldn't you then, in your age of inclusiveness, go, well, how many gay men and women are in here? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so we better get rid of half those women, half those men, and put some gay ones in, right? Or how many vegetarians? Oh, that's right, we better get some of the vegetarians. Right, how many ones who have a limp? Oh, we better get those.
I'm filling out my spreadsheet.
Until it's eternal.
There's no end to it.
And so therefore there's no end game, there's no result, because it's just a subjective quagmire of spreadsheets and insanity.
Yeah.
Right?
People with slightly longer eyebrow hairs than others, right? We need equality in that. You know, it like.
And if you constantly get propaganda too that you are oppressed, that you are getting done over, right? Well, what would want to be the first for my armchair psychological fucking theories? What would probably be one of the emotions that comes up? The idea of vengeance.
Resentment. That's what it is. I can't believe I'm being hard done by.
Yeah, resentment and vengeance, right? And then it's the systems promoting the vengeance and the divide and conquer and the victim mentality. Then, of course, we got this wildfire that's rocking around now. And they're also taking away, as we said before, the challenges you could face by being an outsider. I came from the Blue Mountains in less than a decade, was at Hammersmith Odeon, Odeon playing with Testament and the Astoria with Faith No More. I couldn't even play drums in 1982. By 1990, I'm in the Astoria from the Blue Mountains. Why? Sheer determination and outsider wit, right?
That's it. Outsider wit. Like, you have an experience they don't have. And so when you approach them, you're like, look, I've got something you can't create yourself.
Yeah.
You got to come to me for it because I'm on the outside. And this is what we're doing here, basically, you know, like politics. Like, you know, they can't get this opinion in London. You know, they can't go to London and get what we're saying here. No. You know, because we're the outsiders. And that's exactly the same sort of mentality. And they're depriving people of something good, you know, for being the outsider.
It's great being the outsider. Yeah. Believe me, you don't want to go in there.
No, it's soul crushing.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I used it. Was I on the dole when I was in bands, get money off the system? Yeah, damn right.
Not right. So, calm down.
But I wasn't that political then. I was like 17 and a slayer, and I don't want to get a job, and I was right. But I was also pretty driven, you know, and you know. But yeah, I don't. You take away, you know, it's just a great trick. It's a great trick to get the system to get you. It's pulling you back in. It's pulling you back in when you could peel away. You know. Yeah, yeah, and it's a much better feeling.
Yeah. Right.
To see. I mean, I've come back here. I haven't been here for 7 years, and I've started the tour, and I had 160 in. Over both nights, got 160 people in. Right? Why? Because I'm underground. I'm getting fans here. But I'm like Iron Maiden, Pink Floyd. If I was just a mainstream act that hadn't been promoted over the 7 years, probably no one would come. Why? Because I would just disappear. But I haven't disappeared. Why? Because my stuff has import. It's underground. It has this. So the people who are into it are into it. If Iron Maiden didn't play for 8 years, then suddenly we're going to do a show, 80,000 Iron Maiden fans would come up, right? They haven't lost interest. But if it was a mainstream thing that you got into through the press...
If it's some, like, just polished pop band, you know...
Well, they're not interested anymore. It's gone. Like, it's a... And that's why, you know... And, you know, real mainstream people are... That's why people go, do you like Michael McIntyre? I go, mate, Michael McIntyre's a genius comedian.
He's funny, yeah.
He's funny. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's got the hardest audiences. The mainstream. They're not creative people.
And they don't care about him either.
They don't care. They don't sit down and go, who's Charles Bukowski and who made Apocalypse Now and did he make other films and what's Tarantino's background. They're not into art. See, my life, I can differ it because it's all, I'm going to find out about these poets and film directors and musicians and this. I live in that world, right? But they don't. So they never go anywhere they're not told to, really. I can tell if I go to a mainstream person's house.
You're
You
absolutely
can look
right.
at the CD collection. It's all the ones you should have. Nevermind Nirvana. Don't know the first one. Don't know the second. Got that one. Black Album Metallica. Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
It's all the chart stuff.
It's there because they haven't chosen anything out of.
Yeah. They've never spent the time to investigate, right?
No.
And everything.
And I'm not saying they have to.
Oh no, of course not. But there is.
But don't come yelling at us now, thinking that we're maniacs and bastards, right? Because we've got gifts for you.
Yeah, no, you're right on here, right? Because you can see them as products of the system. Because everything that they own is something they saw in an advertisement. So some corporation put this up and was like, right, this is safe, this is approved, this is what we want you to have, and so then they're sat there and everything around them is a product of the system, the corporate, scientific, politically correct system. And so, everything around them is the product of spreadsheets.
And that's why I get tired of when people go, well, women have to do this because the advertisers told them they should look at this and so. And I actually think, well, stop listening then.
Yeah. You don't have to be told.
Right. I was in the same world with the ads coming at me. You better get muscles like this and do this and carry on and you're right. I just didn't listen.
Yeah.
I just went and listened to Iron Maiden with me mates in the woods.
And the thing is, it's so backwards now. Like we did a section yesterday about this this woman who'd created like a controversy that was being reported on the news because basically she was like, I like being a housewife, and it's like, what? So I like having a husband and kids and making the home and making sure everything's fine. And like loads of women going, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. And loads of people like, oh, I don't know about that. It's like, well, why? Why can't she be like, well, I always just wanted to have kids and have a family. It's like, sorry, you're not allowed to do that. Why? Because it's very human. That's why.
And also,
doesn't look good on the spreadsheet.
What is he, a man making you look after him?
Yeah, no, that was the shit.
Why don't you want to look after your own kids?
Yeah, you make your husband sandwiches. Well, he is a plumber. He labours all day, so I thought it's the least I could do. And they're like, oh, I can't believe you're taking care of him. Why?
Making food for somebody else is one of the most
kind.
gracious things, and just natural. And it's also like, how long does it take to make a sandwich?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the guy's been
10 minutes
he's been in some sewer going, right? Like,
literally.
How have they tricked you into making a sandwich as a nightmare, right? Like,
oh, you're being oppressed. It's awful.
It's awful. It's
awful.
ridiculous. And it's. I don't know why you. Well, they've convinced you that I know they're convinced you bringing up your children is the hardest job in the world. It's probably not the hardest job in the world,
pretty
but it's
tough,
a very bloody important one.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, God, like, look at these oil rig workers and stuff like that. You think, no, that's the hardest job, mate.
It's funny, I use that oil rig workers in my show about...
Because, I mean, these guys get killed a lot.
Mate, minus 40 degrees, waiting for a big pole to swing round by mistake. Kink!
Yeah, that's it. And what if the whole thing breaks or catches fire and, oh, my God. Don't get me wrong, raising kids is, you say,
of course.
It's important. It's very important. In the hardest job
and
in the world.
And wouldn't you want to? Loving?
Yeah.
But why should the women do it first? I always think, well, because I've never had kids, so I'm going to just throw my theories here. Well, it was just in you.
Yeah. Oh, there is. And
something. You're the mother. I haven't had kids, but I guarantee if a toddler falls over, it would get something, goes, Mom! Yeah. Doesn't dread for the old man yet. No, it wants its mother.
Yeah.
Well, these are my theories. I haven't had any. But
no. I've got 3 kids. Oh yeah, I've got 3 kids, and I can tell you, man. Like every stereotype about the sort of like the natural nature of what it is to be a human, it's all true. It's all completely true. It's all cosmic, right? And it's because it's just the way that people have obviously imbibed the world for generations upon generations, and so and it's just normal and natural for the woman to they've got the instinct.
Well, you look at animals.
To make the house.
That's what happens with animals, right? Chinese people did it like that. Japanese people, Koreans, Brazilians, white people, black people do it right. There it is. It's in nature. It's in that. Do you think that they're all doing it just because of the patriarchy tricked them?
Right? We need 50% house husbands. It's like, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And I always sit there and think, well, women like they're like a masculine man, and so if they sit there and go, "Oh, now I've got a house husband," I think there's a part of it might be going.
No, we know there are, right?
Do I really want a house husband?
I have seen articles by these women who there was this one that really stuck in my mind because the man was just like, right, okay, it's actually not that hard to keep a house. And so every day she'd come home frazzled from a 50-hour-a-week office job. She's exhausted. She's been in board meetings all day. And he's there just like, holding one of the kids, making some food and having a good time, with some music on. And, the sun's going. And she just gets really resentful and envious of his life. And I'm like, well, you didn't have to work in a boardroom. You didn't
I don't
have
even
to.
think enviable as well. I mean,
Yeah.
besides, I also think women aren't they sort of female? They want the protector, provider.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
This
true.
is not. Well, this is natural. Why?
not
Because
revolutionary.
you're going to be the one nurturing the vulnerable. And so we need this guy out here.
Keeping the wolves away.
Where's
That's it.
right.
And it
What are you
instinctively.
saying? Women couldn't get the wolves? Well, not as good as this.
Yeah. But moreover, if it's come
Now,
to the women
Ronda Rousey could do it better than me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. But if it's come to like the women keeping the wolves away, haven't we miscarried in some way? Haven't we made a mistake?
Of course.
But
It's all a big trick.
I hate to do this, man, but we're gonna have to wrap up.
Oh no, that's fine.
So,
Well, that's okay. My tour manager's sitting in the car, but,
Yeah.
but he's very cool. And this morning, I put Enya on
Yeah.
because I was up early and I needed, and he's an old Cockney guy, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, "What's this, Steve?" I went, Enya. It's bloody Enya, is it? You're turning me soft, Steve. I'll sit out here and listen to some Enya, mate.
Love it. Man, if you ever want to come back and have another conversation, I would absolutely love to.
No worries.